Hey, welcome back to the channel. Basically, recently I've just done my first backyard ultra. Now this was the Fortitude Pippingford backyard ultra, which was done on March the 30th. And we were really lucky with the weather. So I thought I'd do a video whilst it's still pretty fresh in my mind, just to basically run through the formats, a few tips of the equipment I took and how I approached it. And just to let you know how the day went, really, because it's a whole new format and I didn't really know what to think of it, really. So this one here is, there were three loops, and there was a 5 mile loop, a 4 mile loop and a 3 mile loop. Now I was aiming to do the 5 mile loop, and it was on the hour every hour for 10 hours. So the maximum distance is obviously 50 miles. And if you end up by dropping down from, say, a 5 mile to a 4 mile, then you get a 4 mile loop sort of t-shirt at the end. If you stick to the 5 mile right the way to the end and do the full 50 miles, then you get a black t-shirt. And then if you drop down to 3 mile loops, yeah, you get a different one from that. So that was the sort of format. And if you ended up by missing the cutoff for each of the hours, it would be classed as a DNF. So it was a really fun day, really. I didn't really know what to think of it, really, because I mean, it was great to know that you were getting potentially a 50 mile run out of it. So with an hour for 5 miles, I was aiming for, I went on to the Strava pace calculator. So I was aiming for about 9-minute miles, which would mean 45 minutes with giving 15 minutes remaining until the next start line loop sort of begins. And overall, it went really, really well. So yeah, it's on the hour every hour for 10 hours. I think the first loop started at 8:30 in the morning, and the final loop started at like 5:30 in the evening and ended at about 6:30. So yeah, it wasn't the sort of last man standing one, which a lot of these backyard ultras are. So it was all basically done within the 10 hours, which was fun. So yeah, basically, I managed to stick to the full 5 mile loops all the way round, and just to make it fun, I decided to empty the tank in the last loop to see how fast I could possibly go. So that was like after 45 miles of running, it was then that last 5 I ended up by doing a 7:22 pace for that, which I was really happy with, because there was quite a lot of elevation. It was about 600 or 700 feet per loop. And yeah, you can see from the stats here, the total elevation gain there. I was aiming for 9-minute miles. Most of them I ended up by doing under that because it felt too slow. So yeah, the first loop I did in 8:47 pace. So it was 43 minutes it took me, with 16 minutes remaining. And the main thing was to try and stay warm when you finished. So within that 16 minutes, 34, and all these other sort of quarter of an hour gaps when you've got waiting around, you want to basically stay warm. You want to somehow stay moving, and stay stretched as well. So those are the 3 main things which I'd recommend, is when you've done the run, try and stay warm. So things like dry robe is a really useful thing to have, warm clothes. I was really lucky with the weather. So basically the weather was great. And so it was, I mean, this is an example. This will show you what the weather was like throughout the day. So we're really, really lucky with the weather, and the course drained pretty well. So this was at Pippingford Park, which is up near Nutley. There's the start line. I got there early, so I managed to sort of get my
Good morning and welcome to Fortitude
close to the start line, which is quite
We've got
nice.
just under
And some people had gazebos, which I didn't really need, or tents, just in case it was raining. So I had a chair, but I never sat in it, to be honest. So I didn't want to sort of start seizing up. So here was the start line for one of the loops. I think this was in the middle somewhere. And it was pretty slow pace, except for that final loop when I was properly emptied the tank. And it was a really, really good day. I really enjoyed it because it was time on feet. It was a 50-mile run, and I managed to stay warm in between finishing a loop and the start of the next loop. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And this was a photo from the start line. So I was feeling strong. I was wearing the Mafati Speed Force shoes in gingy socks, had a gilet, and I was trying to regulate my heat because the intensity was quite low throughout a lot of it. You can actually chill down quite a lot, so I wanted to make sure that I stayed warm. So yeah, on my watch I ended up by using the Epix Gen Pro Gen 2, which had loads of battery life for these sort of ultras. I set it as an activity, as an intervals activity, so I was starting manually, which then allowed me to have a nice clear workout layout like this, and you could really see the sort of paces for each parts of it. And then you can see, the final loop was so much quicker, but it was great to have that sort of energy. So in terms of tips of equipment, sometimes you might need gazebo and pegs. I'd take a towel along to, sort of wipe away the sweat and stay dry and stop you from chilling down. A mat, chair, even 4 bricks as well if it's windy, just to stick in the corners of your mat to stop it from blowing around. Electrolytes at your own little aid station. I've made a packed lunch, so I tried to have real food around lunchtime, around 1 o'clock. And then each lap, at about 45 minutes, I'd end up by having a gel when I was relaxing, and then it was kick in for the next lap, like an SIS gel, because it wasn't high intensity. It was great because it had loos, and they had their main aid station there, which... it was great to have the toilets there and be able to have a rest. And just basically I went slow and stayed warm. Went for sort of comfort shoes, arm sleeves and gingy socks, and I had spare shoes, warm clothes and dry robe. And then I was hiking some of the steepest hills, and so by the end I still had loads and loads of energy. So pretty much, when I got to the final, after the final loop, the guy there was saying, if there was a podium, you'd have won it, basically. So I did a 9:36. So the 9 was obviously the 9 hours, but the 36 minutes was when I properly hammered it round the last one. But overall, it was a really good day. The actual course was really picturesque. It was looking into a valley, just next to the Ashdown Forest, and it was pretty hilly as well, so you can get some proper elevation in there. And I had a really good time, to be honest. It wasn't like a normal race in terms of the format, and in a way it was quite nice that it did end in the evening, so you didn't have to go through the night trying to compete with last man standing backyard ultras. But overall, great day. I hope there's some useful tips in there, but I think the main thing I'd say, stay warm, keep moving and stretched after you've finished, and if you pace it right, and then you still have energy at the end. And bring on the next one. All right, thanks for listening. Bye.